Hello and welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Let's have a practical conversation today about a topic that we all have coming up for us all the time, and that's letting things go. Hmm. Yeah. So let's have a practical conversation today about letting our stuff go. Quite naturally, there's another word in the English language that you're cordially invited to substitute for stuff, and it begins with the same letter S. Let our stuff go. Hmm. You've probably thought of several things, maybe dozens of things that you could let go today and that would benefit you if you did. We all have that list of things. So let's talk about that from a very practical standpoint and based on A Course in Miracles, the study and practice of this course. Now, you don't have to be a course student to derive benefit from these videos. This is always going to be the case because the course is a universally themed self-study curriculum. The terminology that it uses, God, the Holy Spirit, is going to be very, very familiar to those of you who are familiar with Christianity or Judaism that come from a Judeo Christian background, as many of us do. Now, if you have a background in Buddhism, Eastern philosophy, the term ego which the Course uses all the time, will be very familiar to you, as will today's conversation about letting things go. Because as we all know, A Course in Miracles is certainly not the only spiritual tradition to invite us to set our psychodrama aside. Definitely not the only one. So this is a very, very good practical question for all of us. It's what is coming up for release? Hmm. That's a very helpful way I've always found to phrase it. What's coming up for release today? What is calling me to let go of? And you may have a very long inventory. Perhaps it's a judgment that you're holding against yourself or somebody else. Perhaps it's an attitude that you know no longer serves you, that for whatever reason you may be clinging on to. It might be a portion of our individual ego identity that we're reluctant to let go of. You all know those. We all have those, right? So, whatever it is, it's food for thought here. Now, it's really, really clear in this context, in the abstract context of watching a video about A Course in Miracles or any spiritual tradition for that matter. It's very, very clear here to watch a video or read something, and things make sense because the ideas by themselves are in fact quite simple. Yet when we go to put it into practice, we run into one form of resistance after another, including this reluctance and unwillingness to let this stuff go. We've grown attached to our individual ego identity, attachment, the Buddha Dharma people out there. Yeah. I mean, when Buddhism talks about attachment and cultivating non-attachment, yeah, letting it go. Because we become attached to our individual ego identity. We become attached to all kinds of labels that we heap upon ourselves, like our job title. Our gender is, in fact, a label, our height, our weight, our place of birth, our nationality, our political affiliations, if we have any, right? What we do for work, what we like to spend our spare time on. I mean, there are countless things that we heap on ourselves, and they're all individualistic labels, and we grow deeply attached to them. We think they're us. They are not us. Not a single one of them is who and what you are. And I know that you know who and what, oh, and where you are. I know that you know that. We all do. We all know deep down this calling or compulsion or urge, whatever you want to call it, to watch this video, to seek answers, to enter what we call the path in the first place, stems from our recognition, however momentary, that there's more to it than meeting the needs of physical organism here. Of course, there is. Along the way, all of these things that we become so fond of and attached to act like a barrier to our true vision. We can't see things the way they are because we've thrown up a smokescreen or thrown a veil over our eyes and can't see. And as we begin to peel these layers away, we begin to see the light that's on the other side of them. You see a lot of that light, or you would not be here. So, what do we do from the study and practice standpoint of A Course in Miracles with things? Because I'm sure you've recognized in the last few minutes again many things that are coming up for release. So, how do we know what's coming up for release, and well, what do we do about it? Those are the great questions. So let's address them. How do we know? How do you feel? How do you feel when something crosses your mind? When you think about something, when you see something? If you do not feel 100% completely, totally, and wholly joyous, it is an opportunity for forgiveness. The true forgiveness that A Course in Miracles talks about. Anything, anything at all that is not wholly joyous is an opportunity for forgiveness. So, a label that you've heaped on yourself, for example, that's not bringing you joy, recognize that it's not bringing you joy. That's an opportunity to forgive and release it. Forgive and release. This course is all about that. So these videos, of course, naturally talk about this. Forgive and release. If something makes you feel uncomfortable in any way, it's coming up for release. In fact, you could choose, and I invite you to, as often as you can, to see that as a profound gift. Oh, because it doesn't always feel like it at the time, because it may really annoy you or make you enraged or something. Yeah. It's an opportunity for forgiveness. Anything that's not wholly joyous, any concept that you might hold about someone else that makes you angry or frustrates you, makes you sad, anything not wholly joyous is an opportunity for true forgiveness. This is how, as students of A Course in Miracles, we go to work changing our mind. Now, what do we need prior to this? This is really important. Awareness. Buddhist students out there. Present moment awareness. Oh, yes. Yeah. The reason meditation is a thing in so many spiritual traditions, the reason mindfulness practices, or whatever you want to call them, are a thing in so many spiritual traditions, is because this present moment awareness matters a lot. It does. How can you expect yourself to deal with a situation if you're not aware it even exists? We're dimly aware of problems, as we call them, of stuff that doesn't make us feel good, but we're often so distracted that we don't recognize. And forgiveness opportunities come up all the time, and we miss so many of them because we're not present. Enter the practice of present moment awareness. If you've ever sat through a meditation wondering why, and this is a great question. I used to ask this all the time. And I've been doing a form of meditation practice, many different forms of meditation practice since the 1980s. And I've often asked myself, why are we really doing this? I mean, what exactly is the point of just sitting here quietly and letting our thoughts go and doing our level best not to follow them and following them anyway, right? What's the point of this? Well, this is the point. If we're not aware of something that needs to be released, how can we release it? We don't. So we make ourselves aware by cultivating present moment awareness. If this looks like a traditional formal meditation practice, great. If it's something else, fantastic. There are many ways to do this. In A Course in Miracles, the workbook for students, which is perhaps, it might be the best known section of A Course in Miracles, the famous, or if you want to call it, infamous workbook. Each idea is it's labeled a lesson. So it's an idea that we work with. And the early lessons in the workbook, as you may be aware, call for practice periods, opportunities to remember, to practice. These are meditation sessions. You can call them practice periods if that makes you want to do them more. Doesn't really matter, but that's what they are. It's mind training. This course is a course in mind training. Mind training is how you wake up from the dream. This is how enlightenment happens. It does not happen without mind training. Now, it is theoretically, of course, possible for you to get a blinding flash and wake up right now. If that happened for you just now, will you please send me a message because I'd love to interview you here on this channel. If it didn't happen, don't worry about it. I mean, we don't know when awakening is actually going to come. I mean, we really don't. But even if it feels like it's far, far off in the distant future, take away from this conversation the fact that you're closer than you might realize. You're here watching this, paying attention to A Course in Miracles, which tells it exactly like it is. There is no world. You know that. You're not a body. God is the only reality. It doesn't mess around. And you're here. You're here. So, yeah, what we do with this conversation, as with any conversation, is you'll know the message that was clearly intended for you when you hear it. So, what we do with that is we do what our inner teacher suggests, because this is a pixelated image on your screen. It is an illusion. It's an assemblage of electronic dots. It is. It's constellated and reconfigured by this apparatus over here, a camera and microphone and the screen and stuff. It looks like a middle-aged man from Arizona with gray hair. What that is a simple form that we're familiar with, one we can more or less relate to without being plunged off the cliff of existential dread. This is how we use the physical body, by the way, as a communication tool to extend love to our brother. When something lands for you on this and every conversation, it's the Holy Spirit, our inner teacher, that is talking. Count on that, and you'll know the messages that were meant for you. So we would, of course, do very, very well to do what our inner teacher suggests we do with them. Now, letting all of our stuff go can be a hard road. We make it hard. We make it hard because of this clinging, this attachment, this ego clinging, this desire to grip on to certain concepts. But I mean, here's the present moment awareness. Bring your awareness to right now. Does it make you feel wholly and completely joyous? If not, forgive it. Whenever you become aware of it, this present moment awareness is very key. So as you go through the day, when you remember to forgive and release something that doesn't make you feel completely joyous, then do so. And will you forget a bunch of opportunities? Yeah, of course you will. We all do. It's like a formal meditation practice where your mind wanders and all of a sudden, okay, well, you're thinking about tomorrow's breakfast, then you're thinking about the list of bills that you have to pay. And then, oh my God, you're transported back to 1985 on the playground at school. That time you fell and cut your lip on the monkey bars or something. It's random. So the point here is that as soon as you recognize that you're carried away, bring your awareness back to true forgiveness. That's all. And in this way, we can choose in the present moment to let things go. So you've got the list of things that are calling, begging, clamoring for release today. So start in on one of them. If one feels too big or too large or too threatening to you, don't start with that. Start with what you can. Start where you are. You know? Start with what you are capable of forgiving, what you feel is coming up for release. You've got a list. Start with one thing and then move to another thing. And we go like that. So I hope that you found this conversation practical and helpful in some way. To the extent that you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer those. And please feel welcome to leave them here in the comment thread. Again, they can be related to spirituality in general or specifically A Course in Miracles. Yeah, questions are more than welcome. This is spirituality, deep self inquiry. Inquiry is the point. So if you've got them, please ask them. And if you have not yet subscribed, I'd love to have you join us. This is the prompt here in the corner of your screen. Just click that red and white arrow icon thing over there, and a button will pop up saying subscribe. And when you do, you'll join an international community, a growing international community. Thank you to those of you who have recently joined us. Several videos appear each week. And I really, really thank you, as always, for tuning in, and I'll see you again soon.